All right, we are live, and now we are going to be in focus. If I can do anything about this screen at all, I think I can. There we go. That's a little better focus. It's really trying those neon lights jack with my screen here. Ah, there we go. What's up, people? All right, so I'll give a few minutes. I've posted I was going to go live, and I'll give a few minutes for some people to get into the room here. It's shaping up to be a bad situation. All of it. And it's my understanding that they actually just had a guy that was a barbecue shop owner, and this guy was in his barbecue shop, I guess watching it for protecting it from looters, but maybe he was making some brisket too. I don't know what he had going on though. And they told him, I guess the police and the army was there. I'm not sure. This is just a story that I saw on Shrimp Zoo, so I don't know. I haven't corroborated it yet, found out for true yet, but that he was in his barbecue shop. They told him that he needed to leave, so he was fixing to leave. It was him, maybe a couple other people. He was about to leave, and he got shot and killed. I'm going to tell you, people, I don't know if you study your history. I'm going to put links up. I've got several links I've already copied and pasted to a notepad, and then I'm going to put it at the bottom of this video as soon as it shows up to me. It'll either show up right away. Actually, I think I have the link still saved. I will edit it if it allows me to, and I'll put them in the description. If not, I'll do it tomorrow, but I'll try to do it instantly. And you can research and learn about massacres that have happened in the past. You can learn about the Irish Troubles. You can learn about the Boston Massacre, which was only 5 people, but it was a big deal. They were unarmed, okay? And they were throwing ice balls, snow, okay, ice balls, at the British redcoats. They were throwing ice balls, and it hit them, and they felt, listen to me when I say this again, armed British regulars felt in danger and felt outnumbered, and so they opened fire and killed those 5 people. So and I'm here at the Dusty Trail, you can see that. So in the same way that it just takes one apple, one bad apple, to spoil the whole bunch, and it just took one officer putting his knee on a citizen's neck to the point that it asphyxiated him, or at the very least contributed to his death, whichever way you want to see it. There can be no doubt that it's happened before. They don't know how to administer first aid, so they don't need to be doing that. That's just the truth if you ask me. If you can't revive someone from something, like when you mace them, you can pour water on their eyes and you can get the water out of their eyes. It's not a good situation, but they do use mace. When you tase someone, it actually could have a heart attack happen and someone could die, but they still use it. And if the person's saying, hey, I'm having a hard time, breathing or this, that, after that, usually they'll get them medical help. Well, if you put a knee on somebody's neck, if you're not a paramedic and you can't save them from what you just did to them, you should not be allowed to do that. So they need to teach them all to be paramedics and get them all, like I was saying before, the cuff that takes people's blood pressure and all that stuff. And instead of saying, hey, did I hurt him? Hey, and being an idiot, they should be able to say, you know, I checked his vitals, I checked his, you know, pulse, he's got, you know, a blood pressure, this over that, and he's, you know, normal breathing and this and responsive. And I mean, they should be able to call it in correct and tell the medics what they need when they get there. If he's going to need a shot of adrenaline or something, you know, well, and get them there quicker. If you can administer aid, if you have a cell phone, you can get the paramedics there quicker. Or on the radio, get them quicker. Say, we need help immediately, you know, and have them bring a medic that knows how to take care of it. But you shouldn't be putting your knee on the neck in the first place. That needs to be taken away. But at the same time, I mean, if they're already cuffed, there's no reason for it anyhow, but even a knee on the back will hold them down. But here's the thing. One officer did that. Just one. And you see what happened because of the response to it and people standing up and saying, you know, this has been going on long enough. And I was, well, let me go further here. Okay. All it will take is for one soldier, okay, whether it's National Guard or whether they do bring in the regular army or even a police officer, to fire the first shot, and for everyone else to think that there was an order given to fire a shot, and then they follow suit with a volley of shots, and the people will become cannon fodder, and there will be a massacre. We have the ingredients right now for a massacre, and this is not good. And the people who would be throwing the ice balls or who would be antagonizing are these Antifa and these militant groups. They need to arrest all of Antifa, detain them indefinitely. They're able to do so under the Patriot Act. Not arrest them. They need to be deemed as terrorists, and they need to be taken in, and until this is all over, take them out of the mathematical equation. Then go forward and let the peaceful protesters march. I'll try to fix this screen here again. Let the peaceful protesters march and protest, and stop any other looters and arrest them if need be, and any kind of arson going on, anything like that. But we run the risk of one jerk from Antifa throwing something, or them handing a brick off to somebody else, because that's what they've been doing, is they've been riding around handing people bricks. It's really stupid. This one woman called them out on it, handed it back to them, said, what the hell you think you're doing handing kids bricks? They could get, don't you know they get shot just for holding a brick in their hand? Well, in the same way that owner of that barbecue hut got shot for nothing, it only takes an accident. It only takes one shot to happen to make someone think that they've been given the order to fire, especially if they've been trained, they just went to a war zone, they just got back, and even loud noises set them off. They're on edge. And in the same way, a long time ago, during the Boston Massacre, they weren't being paid much, and they were getting second jobs. You know, that took away from some of the jobs from people there. But think about it for a second. They don't pay the military as much as they should. They're under a lot of stress, and it's do this, do that, make this happen, and you know, what's the progress? And they're just now getting set up. That's the most stressful time, and they don't know the situation. They don't know how much danger they're in or how much they're not in, so they're at a high state of alertness, and the ready level's high. They're at high ready, and their weapons are at high ready. Now, I seen where they shot the people on the front porch with a beanbag, and they're shooting with rubber bullets, and they punched a cameraman. They just punched the DC police just punched a cameraman. See that one cop, what if he had just pulled a trigger instead of just punching somebody? What if he had just pulled a trigger, but he was surrounded by military, and the military thought it was one of their weapons, and then someone pulls a trigger from one of their weapons, and then all the rest of the guys think, I'm with it, we're getting fired on, there must be a reason he pulled the trigger, we're gonna pull him too. That is the ingredients for a massacre. You can look up the Irish Troubles. What happened there? Okay. Well, they had the Protestants that were mostly Protestants or whatever from England, and they also had the Catholics that were Irish. And what was happening was they were being treated a little unfairly by the British. The British were coming in and being heavy-handed. They had quite a few different massacres where they were shot by them. Some of them were just peaceful protests, and they got shot by them. The soldiers out there standing out there all day in the heat and all day long, it'll wear on a person, and one person can make a mistake. So I think that it'll be good if people keep that in mind, and if everybody, what's up, Icon? If everybody will keep in mind that, even if you decided in a group to come up and, well, let's give the soldiers a hug, that's not acceptable, and that's a situation they don't know what's next. They don't know if you're going to come up and try to hit them with something, and so they're at a high level of readiness. That can make a fight or anything break out. Throngs of people can get to pushing on each other, and they can be trampled and die just from people. It's happened at concerts, not just pushing them up against barriers, but just stomping on them. Everyone trying to rush out of an area at a certain time, even if they're all standing there peacefully, even if they're 6 feet apart, they get to running, and it's like cattle. Herd mentality, but also that they're going to trample themselves. And if they trample themselves and fall over and then eventually start falling into officers or soldiers, and one of them gets shot, and then more bullets happen. Like I said, this is the makings of a massacre that just hasn't happened yet. I don't want to see it happen. So do your history lesson, and I will put links up to all of what I'm talking about, the Irish Troubles, the Boston Massacre. I'll go further. Let me tell you this. Back when the World War I veterans who were promised, look, we need more troops, and we need you guys to teach these new guys, if you'll just re-enlist into the army for this World War II, what we'll do is we'll give you this bonus. It'll be this huge amount of money for you. It was a few $1,000s back then, and it'll be well worth it. Okay, so they enlisted, and then they wanted to get out, and they wanted their bonus, okay? And the government said, we don't have it. We're going to give that to you later. And it was supposed to be later. Then they were going to make it like a death bonus or what. And they're like, no, we need this now. We could use this now. It's like the Depression and everything. Okay, well, they camped out on the White House lawn, and the president at the time told MacArthur, the general, eventually, months and months on, look, okay, I'll give you the go-ahead, and go ahead and push them out of here, but don't drive them past the Potomac River. Don't cross the Potomac. Now, some people say that this was a handwritten order that was handed to him. Some people say he looked at it and crumpled it up and threw it away. Some people say he never got the message. Okay, but either way, they shot at and fired on World War I veterans who were peacefully assembled in tents. They had cities. They were grilling and everything else. I mean, it was going on. And they would have these parades up and down the road, and nobody had a problem with it. They were like, yeah, we get it. Your bonus marchers. Look up the bonus huts or the bonus marchers or the bonus army. Either way, it'll all come up. But our working Army regulars fired on veterans. And it's my understanding 5 to 15 of them were shot and killed. It's my understanding, like I've been told different stories. One uncle tells me, because in the history books it'll say, oh, maybe 5 were shot or 15 were wounded or whatever. My understanding is that 15 of them died and 40 of them were wounded. 40 or 50 were wounded. But the rest of them, some of them were trampled and hurt in different ways. And some of them, you know, were even bayoneted. I don't know that that's true. I'm just saying that that's what I was told by family members who were ex-military, who were alive back then. And they said, you need to look that up. And I did. But they told me the different story of it. Okay. So keep in mind that our Army has fired on our own Army before. Keep in mind that protesters who are out there, but they pose a danger at some point, either whatever line they cross or whatever they do, or if our Army or police even feel endangered, it doesn't give them the right to do anything. But just like that officer didn't have the right to kill that guy, basically, it happened nevertheless. So if shots become fired, and the last thing you want to have happen is for it to come from public, because then they will have a reason to fire, and then they all will fire, and there'll be a volley of shots, and everybody will be mowed down like grass. Absolutely. So there's a very fine line, and we have got to watch where we are and watch the curfews in each city and be respectful of the police and respectful of the military, especially while they're setting all this up. Because while they're setting all this up, you don't want to mess with them. You really don't want to. And if something happens during a demonstration where one of those Antifa assholes throws something at them and they feel endangered and they've been given the order that they can defend themselves and all this shit, we will have a massacre, and it's not going to be good. I don't want there to be one. We don't need the Irish Troubles. We damn sure don't need that. They went through it for years and years and years with the IRA, and look, they are glad to be out of it. Bloody Sunday, I've got a link to that too, in case you're not aware of that. I've studied this kind of stuff for years. I'm going to tell you, people, I will admit that I don't know who played in the last Super Bowl. I watch football like it's a game. I have some interest in it, but I drive a lot. I don't keep up with the teams. I don't know who's who. I don't know these. I've heard of the Kardashians and seen them on TV, but I don't know what all they do all the time. I've seen these so-called stars, you know, these singers. Some of them I know their names. I know a lot of music, but I know nothing about football scores, nothing about baseball scores. I don't know who won the last 5 World Series or Super Bowls. Last football game I can remember was when the Miami Dolphins played somebody a long time ago, and then I think the Washington Redskins. This is where I'm at. I study history because it repeats itself. Just like the title of this video. LaHistoriaSeRepetit means history repeats itself. That's Latin. The first language, before it was turned into Spanish and English and French, which are all very similar. So what I'm saying is, I know what I'm talking about. You should too, though. You should look these things up and educate yourself on this. And it will give you an answer. You'll understand that, hey, this is a recipe for damn disaster. This crisis can be averted before it happens. Just like the damn coronavirus, if they wouldn't have let it in on our shores in New Jersey, we could have stopped it. Could have stopped it right there. They could have put them in quarantine buildings. I'm telling you, people, we can stop and avert another disaster if people will just mind the curfew hours, be respectful and don't let nothing pop off, and don't jack with our military while they're out there doing their job. Okay? Because like I said, very quickly, all it takes is 5 and it'll become like a massacre, but it won't be 5. It won't be 5. they can fire 100 rounds a second. I mean, it could be, I mean, more than that, between about 15 people out there. And you do not want to make them feel surrounded, make them feel endangered, throw anything at them. And they've got to find a way other than swarming through streets and taking over roads, because you can't take over interstate. Nobody's ever going to give you, in the history of man, they, as far as I know, they've never given permits to people who want to protest and take over an interstate highway that's used for commerce. Maybe a road somewhere in the city that's connected to one, but you don't have the right to walk over interstates. People are going to get run over and killed. That tanker went down that one, he's like, how can they close the highway? It can't be closed, or whatever his deal was. Don't know the whole story, but that could have been a lot worse. Get off the damn highways, people. That's stupid. It's just as stupid as anybody burning down a low-income housing project that's just been built, that's just fixing to open, and now then people have nowhere to plan to go to. They were planning on moving in there, you know. So that's about all I've got, and I'm going to put up the links, but I'm just saying, just off the top of my head, those are the massacres that I know. But my history teacher taught me that there were hundreds more massacres that never made it into any type of publication, and he showed me where there were hundreds of people in each one. On some of the ones that never made it, somewhere in New York, somewhere about Irish, somewhere about Italians, somewhere about, it was always some kind of a massacre. It'd be like 100 of them. And it wasn't just the gang fighting ones from back in 1800 and whatever, between the guys with the funny hats that stuck up, and then the, I forget what the other ones were called. So the, what did they say? Something like the, was it the Dead Ducks or something? They had some weird names back then. So you got to do your research and learn your history, because it will repeat itself if you allow it to. Let's not allow, let's just say, no, we're not going to let history repeat itself here. We're going to stop it before it happens. We're going to alleviate the problem. So, you know, somebody's throwing a brick, grab their wrist and make them drop it. You know, don't let it happen. Call in what you see. Now, these Antifa people, they have found out we're using encrypted apps on cell phones that were encrypted to communicate to each other. And that's why they had, in all these different cities, people hooking something to a chain and dropping over bridges and throwing cinder blocks over bridges and putting bricks in places. They have big stacks of bricks in cities where people are picking them up and throwing them, and they just happen to be there with cones around them, and they know it's there for them. And when you get to them, that's where they're at to throw. And then they're trying to dig up bricks out of the sidewalk and shit. Listen, you see somebody with a brick, just go ahead and think that they're either Antifa, or an Antifa gave it to them. Stop them from doing what they're fixing to do. You know, and there's been, there's, you know, you can report anything. They're not going to be mad at you. They've followed some bad leads, and it's on, you know, Facebook, social media, that they're contacting them too, but they followed bad leads, and they're okay with that. They're like, hey, we'd rather follow a bad lead than not follow a lead because somebody was scared to call it in and tell about it. So, if you see something, say something, you know. And everybody, like, tensions are high, and everybody's on high alert. And you have the right to protest. You absolutely do. Nobody can ever take that away from you, you know. But at the same time, if they see you as a threat, even if you're at a group of the wrong people at the wrong time, see, that's where you need to watch watch all your people, your friends, your kids. Don't allow them to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. If there's a curfew, say no, don't go out. Speak up to your friends and keep them alive, and maybe avert a massacre. So, and maybe I'll avert getting run into. You see what I deal with every night, every single night. I'm dealing with this every night. Never fails. I'll give him some lights so he can see a little better. To back up, maybe he'll hit the guy over there. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't let that happen. But yeah, people, I hope that there's a lot of people that's hurt because there's been a lot of deaths, and there's going to be more. Oh, there will be more, and it'll be one at a time. And then hopefully it won't be, but we have the ingredients for a damn massacre. Anybody wants to say something, go ahead. I'm gonna get off this thing and I'm gonna get some sleep, and then I'm gonna get back to it because I'm trying to help provide food for the nation and work at the same time. I'll put this up as an Operation Hot Biscuit. This is it's important to understand. It's very important to understand that this absolutely affects everybody, and that one bad apple can spoil the whole bunch. And so with these people, that it's their job to protect us. They're not unleashing the army, by the way. I told a guy that on the internet. They're not unleashing the army on people. It's just the National Guard. It's the same as when Woodstock happened. Nobody planned for any kind of latrine. Nobody planned for fresh water. People were going to probably die, and diseases was going to start getting rampant and all this stuff. And the National Guard was sent in to help. They didn't even want to break up the party. They're just like, oh, but then at some point they're like, okay, you really need to end this. Y'all are getting a little, this can't go on forever. You can't just sit out here. And they were doing all their hippie stuff and doing drugs and watching concerts all day, and Jimi Hendrix and all them just can't play 7 days a week forever at that place, So couldn't last forever. So hopefully our nation will last forever. The shelf life of a nation is about 200 years. We're already past our shelf life. So if you look at like the date on food when it's bad, we would be like spoiled milk at this point compared to Rome, Greece, all the other countries that went out in 200 years. So my battery's telling me that it's dying. I really don't care. I would plug it up, but let's see here. Got a couple of comments though. They're looting trucks on the highway. Yeah. FedEx Swift, AMZ. Oh, well, yeah, they got some. They're gonna grab the wrong trucker. Woo! See, that's another thing too. You do not want to mess with truck drivers. A lot of truck drivers are ex-military. A lot can defend themselves, and you just don't want it. So let's see. Zai, we need peace. Yeah, Zai, we do. We need lots and lots of peace. Okay. Man, what can you say? But when you create a crowd, the more people that are there, the mathematical probability of one of them being a danger to others goes up exponentially, especially with these Antifa bastards being out there, and some of them paying other people to be out there. So the military knows that. But back to what I was saying is they were using apps that were encrypted to communicate with each other. They were also using some other type of social media, but I think that most of their information was going across that app. So they know what they were doing. They just really need to stop sitting back and watching them, and hey, let's find out what the network is and pop them. Just take them out of the equation. And then hopefully we won't need regular army to go in. Hopefully National Guard can settle in and help some. And hopefully it'll just be like, hey, everybody good? Everybody hydrating? You need water? There's something we can help you with? You go down there, that's the mall if you're going to, the National Mall if you're going to Washington. Over there's they said that they did some bad things and damaged the Lincoln Memorial. That's bad. They said that they damaged something else. Trump said they damaged the Lincoln Memorial and they damaged something else in Washington. Oh, a Veterans Memorial. I'm like, why would they do that? I know why. It's that damn Antifa shit. It's terrorism. And they were trained in how to do that. These people are using the tactics that they're using is they are improvising with like park benches and stuff and this kind of stuff. You heard the guy giving orders to another guy to go get some some kind of picnic tables, something like that. They've been trained in this. Texas Rattler put up a thing about that they have these meetings that they go to, and they're trained by a group of people that even know more than they do or whatever. They're trained in how to disrupt and how to improvise and do all these bad things, and they're spray painting Black Lives Matter and BLM on buildings, and the people who are around them who are protesters, that one black lady says, hey, look, you don't speak for us. What the hell did you spray that on there for? We didn't ask you to do that. They're gonna come and think we did that, and we don't do that. We're not doing that. We're socially just, protesting. What the hell's wrong with you? And they're, oh, we're doing it for you. That's what Antifa's doing. They're starting shit. Okay? And they're trained in how to do it. So I think they're the ones that damaged anything that's been damaged, as far as the spray paint and the I don't know what kind of damage was done to the memorials and stuff, but that's right up their alley. It just sounds just like it's in their wheelhouse. It's what they do. So, people, I'm gonna get off this thing, make a couple of comments, and I'm gonna go. And then I'll drop this as a video, and I will put links up. I've got a list of them on these massacres. So you should start looking up what happens. All it takes is one officer or one army enlisted, either in National Guard or regular, to pull that trigger. All they have to do is feel threatened, and then if all the rest of them think there was an order given, or they just want, they're like, hey, we got to back this up because we must be being fired on, or he wouldn't have fired, and then they'll mow them down like grass. So it's not good. We need to avert that. Hopefully this whole thing will go down, and they won't need the army to be in high numbers on the street, and they'll be just waiting for where to be called to, at different posts they're going to set up. I don't know what to say, but it's every city, and we run the risk of this. So I'm not even sure what that alarm is for, to be honest with you. I don't think it's the battery. So Horsefly, I'm getting off this thing, man. I'm glad to see you. I'm glad that you're healthy and still living, and everything's good with you, man. I'll tell you, I'm fixing to get off this thing. We just did this live. I'm gonna drop this as a video. Basically, do not taunt the police, and don't throw anything at the police, and you run the risk of you will be shot. They were shooting people just for standing on their front porch and not complying by going in their house. If you see people walking down the street saying, get inside, what are you supposed to do? It doesn't mean go to the mailbox. Doesn't mean get your keys and go out to your car and get your makeup or your purse or whatever. No, you go inside. Or you'll get shot with a shotgun beanbag in close enough range. It could break a rib. It could do all kinds of internal damage. And those rubber bullets, one woman, I think it was a woman, if I remember that right, lost her eyesight in one eye because she was hit with one. Those rubber bullets, they have the ability, you could die from a rubber bullet. So, and some of them could be live rounds, like the one guy evidently was shot with. So, y'all stay safe, and nothing against protesting. Just know all of this history before you get into it, and don't go out at night. So I'm off this thing. Y'all stay safe. I'm out. Peace.